We can expect the unexpected with November's Beaver full moon exacting exactly 24 degrees Taurus, while conjunct Uranus retrograde on demon star Algol. The full Beaver Moon exacts at 4:28 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1:28 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and 9:28 p.m. UK time. Please adjust for your time and location. I would like to apologize. I was not able to be on camera this time because I am quite sick, as you will see is in the Astrology for the full Beaver Moon this November 2024. This is the fourth supermoon of 4 consecutive supermoons in which the moon is closest to the Earth in her orbit, and therefore her effects are intensified as it has a greater pull on the Earth's tectonic plates. Uranus in Taurus has been about liberating us from the confines and shackles of our comfort zones, freeing us from complacency and extreme weather events thus far, so we can anticipate more extreme weather events, seismic activity, flooding, especially with Saturn and Neptune co-present in Pisces, and soon to be the north node of fate and destiny, come January and February. Prepare for record snowfall this winter. Wildfire, especially with Mars in Leo, in the days surrounding the full Beaver Moon, 24 degrees Taurus. New Mexico just received 22 inches of snow last weekend. Colorado received extreme snowstorms with rare thunder snow. And at the time of recording this video, Spain, North Carolina, and eastern Tennessee are still recovering from extreme flooding events, while wildfire ravages the drought-ridden areas of California and parts of my home state, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and all the way to the New York State border. The moon is exalted in Taurus, further intensifying the energy and its effects. This will have a tremendous pull on our emotions and on our psyches, especially as Mars opposite Pluto unearths repressed, hidden emotions and brings secrets to light, especially regarding what's been done in the dark or behind the scenes at the hands of leaders, influencers, and celebrities. The full moon in November is called the Beaver Moon because each November, beavers retreat to their dams to hibernate for the long, harsh winter. Just as the beavers' well-crafted sanctuaries create a space of warmth and safety for them through the harsh winter, the full moon in November, especially in the sign of Taurus, is a time to focus on your own physical home and sanctuary. It's a time to prioritize peace and to retreat inward into relaxation, rest, and recuperation. The beaver archetype combines elements of water and earth. Hardworking, family first, loyal, and tireless, the beaver very much reminds me of Taurus energy. I will dig deep into the full moon conjunct Uranus on demon star Algol a bit later on in the video, but the biggest thing about Uranus conjunct this particular full moon is that it can be quite unstable and disruptive, especially to the status quo, our peace, and overall stability. Uranus conjunct the Taurus full moon, and opposing the Sun in Scorpio, the sign of transformation, implies the universe is requiring some sort of major change. The Taurus-Scorpio axis of opposition highlights what we need, what we value, the work that we do to earn money, what is in balance versus what is out of balance. As a Venus-ruled sign, Taurus is all about creating and maintaining a sense of peace, harmony, and balance, especially within the home. This is showcasing for us what we truly value. Something could be revealed that proves to be quite disruptive to the current status quo. It is a chaotic energy, bringing a major shock or surprise on the financial axis of personal values, resources, assets, investments, and self-made money, all Taurus-ruled things, versus our financial output, taxes, debts, inheritances, bills to pay, financial institutions, insurance, and anything related to the merging of money or shared resources ruled by Scorpio. Something could happen around this full moon that brings your attention to your financial habits and forces you to effect some sort of a change in the direction of Taurus, which is all about compiling resources, saving and conserving versus materialistic spending. Perhaps you experience a major revelation around your values or deeper hidden feelings. Scorpio. Scorpio energy is where we merge with others on a deep soul level, It's where we take the long-term relationship into the commitment of a marriage or a partnership and combine our resources. The opposite point in the sky, Taurus, asks us to ground down and check on what our core frequency is, especially when faced with drama, intensity, and turbulence. You could be surprising yourself, or something surprising could happen in your life that reveals what matters most to you, shocking you out of complacency, especially within one-to-one interpersonal relationships, the workplace, and your finances. Full moons are a time of peak energy that bring closure, completion, culmination, and revelation. We're collectively reaping the seeds that were sown under the corresponding Taurus New Moon 6 months prior. The Taurus New Moon in 2024 occurred on May 7th, 2024, exacting 18 degrees, 1 arc minute of Taurus. 18 degrees is considered an evil degree in degree astrology, associated with collective chronic health flare-ups and issues. Full moons are an opportunity to find emotional closure and release, and to let go of what no longer serves our best interest, whether it's a belief system, pattern of thought or behavior, work environment, or a person. With the sun opposite in Scorpio, this is all about letting go of darker, more negative emotions of hurt, resentment, anger, and betrayal. Scorpio is a fixed water sign known for its emotional intensity. This is an opportunity to allow old versions of self to die off so that you may align with passion, purpose, and your highest potential. The sun casts the spotlight 24 degrees Scorpio, with the moon reflecting its light due to its opposite position in the sky. This is precisely what a full moon is, when the sun and moon are exactly opposite one another in the sky or universe. With any opposition, conflict leads to evolution. Scorpio is an incredibly transformational sign, so this full moon encourages us to effect change as we modify or change direction on something. This is amplified by the moon's conjunction to Uranus and Taurus, which is all about breaking free from stagnation and complacency. Growth begins just outside of your comfort zone. If we follow the energy trail and look to the planetary rulers for this full moon, we will want to examine both the Taurus moon answering to Venus in Capricorn and the Scorpio sun answering to traditional ruling planet Mars, which is now in fire sign Leo, and modern ruling planet Pluto in its final days, 29 degrees Capricorn in our lifetimes. Beginning with Venus, Venus faced a series of harsh aspects in the late degrees of freedom of movement, thought, and speech-loving Sagittarius, prior to ingressing into strict, frugal, Saturnian-ruled Capricorn. On November 7th, 2024, Venus formed a challenging inconjunct, or 150-degree angle, to Uranus in Taurus on Algol. An inconjunct is very close to an opposition. It's when two energies are almost opposite one another, they form a 150-degree angle, and they have a hard time seeing eye to eye. Taurus versus Libra is a great example of this. Although both are Venus-ruled signs, the way the energy manifests for Taurus versus Libra is completely different, and the two energies have a hard time seeing eye to eye. As a fixed earth sign, Taurus can be a bit too transactional when it comes to relationships for Libra, and as a cardinal air sign, Libra can be a bit too outgoing and extroverted for Taurus. Venus in conjunct Uranus is an aspect of irritation and adjustment. It can bring surprises in relational dynamics and financial matters that forces us to make a major change. Venus in the late degrees of Sagittarius also formed a challenging square to Neptune, 27 degrees Pisces. This exacted on Saturday, November 9th, which we are loosely coming out of under the full moon. Venus square Neptune is a distortion to Venus-ruled things on a collective basis. It can distort our values, relationships, and our overall sense of financial security. Venus square Neptune can be hypersensitive and prone to illusion, delusion, and manipulation at the hands of others who seek to take advantage of our kindness and generosity. Collective delusions are about to fall away as we prepare to see things for how they really are under this illuminating full Taurus moon. This Venus square Neptune brings us right back to Jupiter and Gemini, because Neptune in Pisces, although in its sign of modern rulership, still answers to traditional ruling planet Jupiter, which is also the traditional ruling planet for Venus while she was transiting Sagittarius. Venus square Neptune is considered a red flag aspect in astrology. Neptune can really distort one's self-image and self-confidence with this placement because it creates difficulties with our ability to self-love. This aspect can cause us to feel ostracized, victimized, unloved, or unlovable. We may feel as though we are too different from the status quo or too different in the eyes of others, and that we are somehow not accepted by the in crowd. This is an illusion cast by Neptune, so please do not fall for it or feed it any energy, unless you want that to become your reality. It is essential to realize that what you think others perceive of you may not be accurate at all, but an overly sensitive projection of your deepest insecurities of unacceptance. Be careful, because these perceptions can cause us to act differently around people we perceive as not liking us, which can in turn create a self-fulfilling prophecy. I actually have Venus square Neptune in my natal chart in a powerful part of my chart, and I can speak firsthand at how difficult it was to learn self-love and to manifest a healthy relationship, being not only a child of divorce, but the only daughter of a hyper-competitive, narcissistic mother who seems to thrive off of putting her only daughter down. My natal Venus, 8 degrees Libra, rising with my ascendant, part of a Libra stellium, squares my natal Neptune, 11 degrees Capricorn, part of my Capricorn stellium, on my IC. This is opposite my Chiron conjunct Pholus on my midheaven, that big mother wound that I use in the work that I do and is part of my public reputation and career. Overcoming the damage from narcissistic abuse was pivotal, not only in my personal development, but in my career, where I now find myself in a position to help others on their path to self-empowerment, healing childhood trauma, and navigating narcissistic abuse. I actually originally wanted to be a divorce and family therapist, where I could work with the entire family unit in a way that was healthy and did not put the children in the middle. However, my mother would not pay for college unless I chose a major that she was in favor of, highlighting her narcissism and need for control. My mother's children are merely extensions of herself. We were never free to be our own individuals. She even controlled the sports that we played and the clubs that we joined. It appears that I found my path anyway, despite her lack of support. Until I did the work, I attracted narcissistic personality after narcissistic personality, from bosses in the workplace to friendships and lovers and everything in between. The key to this challenging aspect is self-love. There is mass disillusionment going on in the world right now, so please practice Virgo's discernment. I'll get into that a bit more when we explain the mutable T-square in the chart patterns and aspects portion of the video. On the positive, this placement, Venus square Neptune, is divinely inspired and brilliant for creativity, found common in the charts of artists, musicians, and producers. It's a deeply spiritual placement. This could also imply that something may not play out the way that we thought it would. This is the nature of Uranus, which is rather unpredictable. It brings a tower moment. A radical shift or change is underfoot. Sudden dramatic turns of events. We can all expect the unexpected when Uranus conjoins the moon, and it converges under a full moon. Uranus was born to be on the outside looking in, so that it can see what's wrong with the status quo and change it for the better, which is what Pluto and Aquarius will be all about. Up until late on November 3rd, 2024, our Scorpio sun was answering to a weakened Mars in Cancer, but now that Mars is in Leo, it is empowered. This is because Mars is happy and thrives. It's completely at home in the fire signs, and also because it puts the Scorpio Sun and Mars in Leo into what's called mutual reception. The Sun rules Leo energy, and Mars rules Scorpio energy. So the two planetary bodies have traded rulers. They are therefore working very closely in cahoots with one another. We have another interesting mutual reception going on between Mercury and Sagittarius, opposite Jupiter in Gemini, which I will explore a bit later on in the video when we cover the chart patterns and aspects, specifically that mutable T-square I keep alluding to. 2 weeks prior to this full Beaver Moon, 24 degrees Taurus, We had a powerful new moon, 9 degrees Scorpio, that will change the world as we once knew it forever by the time it completes under its corresponding full moon 6 months from now on May 12th, 2025, exacting 22 degrees 12 arc minutes of Scorpio, the other evil degree in degree astrology. 22 degrees is a master number associated with master builder Capricorn energy and considered to be an evil degree, as it is the KILL or BKILLED degree, bringing us right back to Pluto in its final few days, 29 degrees Capricorn, in our lifetimes, and this aggravating, intense, violent opposition between Pluto and Mars that will exact 3 times between that Scorpio New Moon on the 1st of November and May 2025. Buckle your seatbelts and prepare for another 6 months of intensity and dramatic changes to leadership, Hollywood, and the economy. The moon conjoined Pluto 29 degrees Capricorn for the final time in our lifetimes, sometime on Thursday, November 7th, 2024, depending on where in the world you're tuning in from, and then immediately ingressed into Aquarius for the first quarter moon in Aquarius, where it immediately opposed Mars in the early degrees of Leo, where Mars is about to retrograde. Mars combines the psychological and sexual energies as the ruling planet for both Aries and Scorpio. The influence of Mars is why Scorpio is often mistaken as a fire sign. Scorpio is ruled traditionally by Mars prior to the discovery of its modern planetary ruler, Pluto, and Mars is considered to be the lower octave or lower expression of Pluto. Aries and Scorpio are 2 of the most tenacious warrior energies due to the influence of fiery planet of war, Mars. I'm hearing Won't Back Down by Tom Petty. Well, I won't back down. No, I won't back down. You could stand me up at the gates of hell, but I won't back down. No, I'll stand my ground. Won't be turned around, and I'll keep this world from dragging me down. Gonna stand my ground, and I won't back down. With Mars ruling over our willpower, and with Pluto opposite Mars, this is about taking the inside and expressing it outwardly. Inside out. This is about channeling the internal into the external, how we process and project our emotions. Both Pluto and Mars are deeply cleansing, purifying, and purging energies. Better out than in, I'm hearing. Mars and Pluto are both heavily involved in medical procedures, especially ones involving cutting and surgery. Many of my clients in my full-time job are surgeons, and many have a strong influence of Aries and Scorpio, Mars-ruled energy. My natal moon, 9 degrees Gemini, is tightly conjunct my natal Mars, 13 degrees Gemini, on the 8th, 9th house cusp, and I find creative self-expression, writing, journaling, and talking things out with a trusted friend or confidant, all Gemini things, to be the most therapeutic release for me personally. You can look at your Mars placement to see what might work best for you. Mars ruling our willpower, about to retrograde while opposing Pluto, can bring out power and control issues, addiction, and emotional intensity and turbulence. This is all about cleansing, purging, and effecting change or transformation. Mars in Leo, with Leo energy ruled by the Sun, while the Sun is in Scorpio, with Scorpio ruled traditionally by Mars, puts these 2 planets into mutual reception. Astrologers consider Mars to be the right hand of the Sun, the latter of which represents royalty and leadership. The Sun is our daemon, our dharma, our life path, the ideal we wish to become, while Mars is the warrior archetype, implying an inherent need to fight, drive, or push for something. Mars is related to the root word for martyr, someone who is willing to put their own life on the line for the sake of something or someone else. Mars energy is also common in the charts of first responders. Mars-Sun themes: connecting with inner authority, finding your willpower and your own way in this world. Taken too far, this can be overly my way or the highway, domineering and steamrolling, aligning with a force far greater than the self. When taken too far, this can lead to dogmatic self-righteousness. Other themes include letting go and embracing change, allowing what's been hidden, buried, repressed, or avoided to surface, realigning with passion and purpose, connecting with one's inner authority and power, transmuting pain into personal power, and allowing old versions of the self to die off so that we can be reborn better. Mars is the warrior archetype, so it ties to our life force and yang energy, how we go after something when we want it. Mars is the bringer of war, and it delivers karma through illness, injury, and separation. Coming out of the November 1st Scorpio New Moon and the November 5th election, we will see a lot more violence. It's going to be a very messy process so that we can really see the flaws of the bipartisan system and down the road in its aftermath, establish a different way of being that's less chaotic and more equitable. The battle for this election may drag out into December, January, February, and all the way through May. Since Mars retrograde begins in early December and doesn't complete until February, this also implies that whoever is elected in the beginning may not be who comes into power come Inauguration Day, January 2025. Whatever happens, buckle your seatbelts and stay grounded. You're in for some curveballs and surprises from the universe. Mars and Pluto will oppose each other 3 times during the upcoming Mars retrograde, creating an escalation to the current world conflicts between now and May 2025. Additionally, we will see Neptune ingress into Aries and Uranus ingress into Gemini in 2025. When those 2 planets were in these signs, it also coincided with the American Civil War. Mars retrograde changing signs indicates a major change of heart, mind, and direction, especially relating to the economy, leadership, and Hollywood. Mars entered his pre-retrograde shadow period way back in early October 2024 and has been leaving breadcrumb clues as to what the upcoming Mars retrograde through Leo and Cancer will be about. Mars in Leo. Mars is comfortable here in fellow fire sign, but this can really amplify ego. Mars will energize Leo placements, especially in the first decan of Leo, the first 10 degrees. We will see more wildfire, violence, arrogance, corrupt leadership, and human trafficking, especially child trafficking. Mars in the fire signs is naturally goal-oriented, ambitious, assertive, athletic, and high energy. It's a strong masculine energy that can be released through physical activity, exercise, sweating, saunas, hot showers, and baths, to name a few examples. Cancer. Mars is uncomfortable in Cancer due to its debilitation or weakening. Fire and water do not mix. Can bring an increased focus on home and family, especially our relationship with our mother, security, emotional, physical, and fiscal security, nationalism, threats to the border, and national security. We may also see themes of domestic violence and abuse. Mars will activate placements along the Cancer-Leo cusp and the 3rd final decan of Cancer. Mars stations retrograde on December 6th, 6 degrees 10 arc minutes Leo, in what is called the nebulous cluster, located in the 1st decan of Leo, also known as the Aceli, which the ancients believed brings death by fever, fire, beheading, violent catastrophe, ruin, disgrace, wounds to the face and eyes, blindness, imprisonment, and great changes to society. Gaspare Aceli, for whom the cluster of stars is named, was an Italian physician who is known for discovering the lactal vessels of the lymphatic system. Immune systems are low and absolutely vulnerable at this time. Mars will station direct 17 degrees 1 arc minute of Cancer on February 23rd, 2024. This is within a 1 degree orb of the fixed star Wasat, which the ancients believed to be associated with poisoning, chemicals, and gas. Mars will not leave its post-retrograde shadow until May 2nd, 2025. This means that Mars retrograde will overlap with the 4th and final Mercury retrograde of the year, which I will dive into a bit later on. This will take us all the way back to Mercury retrograde of December 2023 to January 2024, ending exactly where this Mercury retrograde begins, 22 degrees Sagittarius. That KILL or BKILLED degree again. Mars retrograde will also overlap with a Venus retrograde from March 1st to April 12th, 2025. This upcoming Venus retrograde will begin 10 degrees 50 arc minutes cardinal fire sign Aries, activated by the Aries moon on March 1st, and it will end 24 degrees 37 arc minutes of Pisces. During her upcoming retrograde, ending in her sign of exaltation, she will conjoin Neptune, the north node of fate and destiny, and Saturn. Prepare for more extreme weather and precipitation, and a collective crisis of faith or belief. Immediately following the beneficial conjunction of Venus and Neptune, Neptune dips its toes into Aries on the last day of March. Historically, Neptune in Aries has ties to major wars, including the American Civil War, and to assassinations of major leaders and political figures, including Julius Caesar. Please stay tuned. This is just a teaser for what's to come. Venus last retrograded through fire sign Leo back in the summer of 2023, which brought wildfire all around the globe. May we never forget the people of Hawaii on August 8th, 2023. On Sunday, November 10th, 2024, the moon conjoins Saturn retrograde in the heart of Pisces, 12 degrees Pisces, which is emotionally preparing us for its stationing direct under this Taurus full moon on Friday, November 15th. More on that in a bit. On November 19th, 2024, just a few days after the full moon, Pluto will enter 0 degrees Aquarius and will enjoy 20 years of uninterrupted progress through the sign of innovation, equity, and humanitarianism until 2044. Therefore, this full moon is setting us up for that final dramatic re-entry of Pluto into Aquarius in the weeks following the historic U.S. presidential election. Leaders and celebrities we once held in high esteem will experience a dramatic fall from grace as their karma comes to collect for what they've been up to behind the scenes and in the dark. Over the next 20 years, Pluto in Aquarius will decentralize systems of power and shift it back into the hands of the people. Protests and revolts in the United States in the aftermath of the election. Whenever Pluto changes signs, it brings to light a crisis themed around the symbolism of the sign it is preparing to move into. For example, if we rewind back to 2008 when Pluto first ingressed into Capricorn, an earth sign associated with banking, the stock market, and finance, it coincided with the Great American Recession. In Aquarius, Pluto will highlight major issues with technology and technological advancements, such as the internet, social media, and AI. I'm hearing The Internet by John Bellion. Life became dangerous the day we all became famous. No one cares if you're happy, just as long as you claim it. How can we change this the day we all became famous? No one cares if you have it, just as long as they think you do. Pluto is responsible for processing what's repressed and lurking in the shadows, and as the destroyer, seeks to destroy or break down anything that is not aligned with higher purpose. Both Pluto in Capricorn and Pluto in Aquarius are ruled by Saturn, but Aquarius is a very different Saturn, and is also influenced by its modern planetary ruler, Uranus, featured in a tight conjunction to this full moon. Capricorn is a feminine or yin earth sign of the nature of Saturn, representing the demonization of the divine feminine. Black Moon Lilith in Libra is also serving to highlight this, co-present with the south node of fate and destiny in Libra. Pluto 29 degrees Capricorn brings up themes of trust, betrayal, gaslighting, and scapegoating, which can be seen in Capricorn's symbolism and animism. Capricorn is symbolized by the sea goat, a mythological creature with the body and head of a goat and tail of a fish, symbolizing the flowing connection between earth and water. It has deep ties to spirituality, and despite its detached, stoic, outward appearance, hides a deeply sensitive and intuitive nature. Capricorn energy is represented by the Devil card in Tarot, and the Devil was a fallen angel after all. Pan is a half-goat, half-god figure that has ties to the origins for the words panic and worry tied to anxiety. It might be well at this point to interpose something on the nature of fear. That it is a so-called primary affect or emotion has been stated by psychologists since Descartes and is still confirmed by physiologists and biologists specializing in animal behavior today. Cannon has it as one of the 4 fundamental reactions that he investigated. Lauren regarded it as one of the 4 basic drive complexes. The traditional Western approach to fear is very negative in keeping with the attitudes of our ego. Fear, like many other affects in their image, is first of all regarded as a moral problem to be overcome with courage. As Emerson might say, or Tills, courage to be in an age of anxiety, fear is to be met and managed by the hero on their path to maturity. An encounter with fear plays a major part in initiation ceremonies, because our culture's reflection upon the psyche is habitually moral. The psychological value of fear tends to be prejudiced, if not excluded or avoided from our perspectives altogether. So entrenched is the moral approach to psychological events that psychology has had to go to physiology and to the study of animals in order to find a path free of moralism. Although physiology recognizes the protective function of fear, the emotion of fear is generally regarded to be either an accompaniment of instinctive flight or fight patterns, or those same patterns blocked or retained, internalized within the organism. This inhibition of metric behavior, together with increased and prolonged excitation of the organism's parasympathetic nervous system and neural hormonal chemical activation, is what we call anxiety. Simply, there are 2 phases to panic: acted out in reaction to a stimulus and called fear, or held within with no known stimulus and called anxiety. Fear has a direct object, while anxiety appears to have none. Find where this full moon will affect you personally. Navigate to 24 degrees of the fixed signs in your natal chart, especially 24 degrees Taurus and Scorpio by direct contact, and also 24 degrees Aquarius and Leo by challenging square. The last quarter moon, 24 degrees Leo, 1 week after this full moon on November 22nd, 2024, wraps up Scorpio season with drama and intensity, especially considering it's the second of 2 back-to-back last quarter moons in Leo. This is like the universe saying, hey, pay attention, I want you to focus here. This full Beaver Moon is conjunct not only the Uranus-Jupiter conjunction 21 degrees Taurus that occurred in late April, early May 2024, but also Uranus Kanzimi, Uranus and the Sun aligned 23 degrees Taurus mid-May 2024, and the Mars-Uranus conjunction, 26 degrees Taurus, in mid-July 2024. So it's bringing us back to all of those time periods for closure, and it's reactivating them. This full moon will shine a light on Taurus, especially 3rd decan Taurus themes: agriculture and farming, the food supply, the water supply, which will also be impacted with Saturn and Neptune, and in a couple months in January 2025, the North Node in Pisces. Access to and control over natural resources, money, banking, and the economy, the emergence of new currencies, assets. Taurus usually rules movable assets, but it will also include the real estate market and our homes, with Mars retrograde in Cancer upcoming in December. Scorpio is about shared resources, inherited wealth, family money, etc., and it includes taxes, debts, inheritances, the insurance market, trust funds. Trust funds do dry up. This could include BRICS and their new payment system. Scorpio is the sign of secrets, which could include secret or hidden money, money laundering, underhand or underground financial transactions, and people trying to control or manipulating others by misusing their wealth, status, or influence, such as P. Diddy. The 3rd decan of Taurus is ruled by Venus and subruled by Saturn, bestowing a strong Capricorn subflavor to its energy. Outside of a cardinal T-square involving the nodes of fate and destiny, Venus is relatively unaspected under the chart of this full moon, which is happening on Friday, November 15th, Friday being Venus Day, the day named after Venus, and situated 4 degrees Capricorn. Saturn, it's answering to ruling planetary body Saturn, stationing direct under this full moon, 12 degrees Pisces, under the influence of both Jupiter in Gemini and Neptune in Pisces. Taurus is one of the most stable and steady energies. Influenced by Venus, it is an energy that is wired to create and maintain peace and stability, as a fixed earth sign, Taurus prefers to keep things as they are rather than rock the boat. This is amplified when we consider that the moon is exalted or especially strong in Taurus and at odds with the opposing sun in Scorpio, which is all about change and transformation. Uranus, the least stable planetary body, in close conjunction to the exalted full moon here, will bring dramatic changes and curveballs to our finances and overall sense of peace and stability. Prepare for another great American recession and a possible housing market collapse. With any 180-degree opposition, tension exists between the needs of the self versus the needs of those around us, especially within our one-to-one interpersonal relationships. Look to where this opposition is playing out in your chart, where you have 24 degrees Scorpio and Taurus, to see how it may manifest in your life. As an example, 24 degrees Scorpio Sun falls within my second house of self-made money, while the moon, 24 degrees Taurus, is directly opposite in my 8th house of shared resources and long-term commitments. 24 degrees in degree astrology is a Pisces degree. This is bringing us back to Neptune in Pisces in its sign of modern rulership as the sole depositor under this full moon, and Saturn's co-present, now direct 12 degrees Pisces. Whenever a planet changes its motion, aka when it stations direct or retrograde, it increases the effects of its energy and symbolism. Saturn and Neptune co-present in Pisces means dangerous water, flooding, toxins in the water, attacks on the water or to the water supply, and water used as a weapon, to name a few examples. This could include dams collapsing, creating floods that ravage the landside. This began when Saturn first ingressed into Pisces in March 2023, joining Neptune, which was already there, bringing a new term, atmospheric rivers, to weather stations near you, and it will be amplified late 2024 into 2025 as the North Node of Fate and Destiny closes in on Neptune in the late degrees of Pisces, and as Saturn, Neptune, and the North Node of Fate and Destiny prepare for a triple conjunction on the cusp of Pisces and Aries in early 2025. The full moon, 24 degrees Taurus, is within a 1-degree orb of Uranus retrograde, currently 25 degrees Taurus, right on top of fixed demon star Algol. Algol sounds like alcohol, which is similar to alcohol. The word alcohol is actually believed to have come from the Arabic term algol, alcohol, which translates from body-eating spirit. It gives root to the origins for the English term ghoul, also sounding similar to Algol. In fact, fixed star Algol was named for the demon's head, referring to the Gorgon monster Medusa, literally translating from the ghoul. This could be why alcoholic drinks are called spirits and booze. Drinking alcohol is one of the fastest things one can do to lower your vibrational frequency, as it and other mind-altering substances have been used to keep human consciousness at a lowered state for thousands of years. Long story short, I recommend detoxing from alcohol and other mind-altering substances, or using them sparingly and in moderation in the coming months and around the holidays. Algol is situated in the constellation Perseus, located within the constellation Taurus. It is an eclipsing binary variable star, meaning that it dims over the course of a few hours before re-brightening, a trick-or-treat that repeats every 2.87 days, which likely startled our ancient stargazing ancestors who predated the advent of the telescope and modern technology. Although Algol does not actually dim or re-brighten, it appears to from the naked eye. The apparent darkening and brightening of Algol inspired its origin stories, which tie Algol to trickster energy, intoxication, evil, suffering, bad luck, pain, death, tragedy, and ill omen. The ancient Greeks believed that Algol's blinking symbolized the winking eye of the snake-haired Gorgon Medusa, which is interesting because the star is situated in Medusa's head, carried in the left hand of Perseus within the constellation. Algol is placed directly over Medusa's third eye, in the center of her forehead, symbolizing her divine feminine intuitive power and clarity of sight, and the demonization of the feminine. According to legend, Medusa was originally a beautiful maiden who was punished for her good looks and vanity by a jealous Pallas Athena, who turned her lovely head of hair into vicious, hissing serpents. Medusa's appearance was believed to be so fearful as to cast any man who looked upon her to stone. She was therefore forever cursed. Once Perseus outsmarted Medusa by using her reflection against her. He beheaded her and used her head as a weapon, powerful enough to defeat the Kraken. Medusa became even more powerful in her death, and has since become a powerful symbol of transformation, feminine power, and magic itself. Although she was a monster, her head of snakes was believed to ward off evil, while simultaneously enhancing her intuitive and psychic abilities. The blood that dripped from Medusa's decapitated head was believed to give birth to new life in the form of scorpions, which later became a powerful symbol of transformation and of Scorpio energy. If you stand behind Medusa, you are believed to be protected, but if you stand in front of her, you will be petrified. Similarly, if you succumb to your fears and insecurities, you will be frozen in place, but if you have the courage to align with passion and purpose and to transform, you too can be reborn, stronger and more powerful than before. Similarly, ancient Hebrew astronomers called Algol Rosh HaSatan. Rosh Hashanah is a Jewish holiday celebrating the origin story of Adam and Eve. Rosh HaSatan translates from Satan's head, and they believed it had ties to Lilith, Adam's first wife, who refused to submit to a life of servitude to man, and was instead banished and cast out from society as an evil harlot or demon. Medusa and Algol are therefore believed to represent the patriarchy's suppression of divine feminine power over the past thousands of years, much like Black Moon Lilith does in astrology, representing our patterns of self-disempowerment. Algol therefore has ties to decapitation, so you're advised to stay grounded and to keep your cool. Do not allow any underlying emotions, especially anger and resentment, to cause you to lose your head, literally or metaphorically. People with personal placements within a 2-degree orb of Algol tend to have distinctive facial features, facial hair, or long, beautiful hair for females. Their nose, ears, or smile may be large or stand out in some profound way. Taurus is tied to the thyroid gland, neck, vocal cords, and throat, so watch for illnesses affecting these areas and for flare-ups here. I find this ironic, as I am recording this as a voiceover for the first time due to being profoundly sick with an illness affecting my throat, vocal cords, and lungs. Scorpio is tied to our eliminatory and reproductive systems, so look out for flare-ups in these body systems, especially concerning the urinary tract, prostate, anus, and reproductive organs. I'm getting a channeled message about urinary incontinence, which is related to Scorpio energy and our eliminatory systems. There are a lot of infections going around right now. Coughing can cause urine leakage due to a condition called stress incontinence, which occurs when activities like laughing, coughing, or sneezing put pressure or stress onto the bladder, causing urine to leak. It is seen commonly in women just after childbirth, with smoking, chronic constipation, and people who are overweight, and with chronic coughing conditions like asthma. I'm hearing better out than in when it comes to productive coughs this cough and flu season, too. Congratulations, you've made it to the patterns and aspects part of the video. The moon is the most aspected planetary body in the chart of the full moon, amplifying the effects of this full moon even further. Venus is the ruling planet for the exalted moon in Taurus, and is relatively unaspected, 4 degrees Capricorn, answering to Saturn in Pisces in the chart of the full moon. Saturn in Pisces answers to Jupiter in Gemini, in mutual reception with Mercury in Sagittarius, and also answers to Neptune in Pisces, bringing us back to those energies. Sun conjunct the part of fortune in Scorpio, Moon conjunct Uranus in Taurus on Algol. We have a mutable T-square formed between the opposition occurring between Mercury in Sagittarius and Jupiter in Gemini, who are in mutual reception and at a loosely building opposition. The mutable T-square is formed with the energy converging on the square to Saturn in Pisces, which stations direct under this full moon. I'll explore this a bit deeper, but you can think of a mutable T-square like a bow and arrow, with the point of tension on Saturn in Pisces, Once we release that tension, the arrow points to what's missing opposite in the sky, which is the discernment of Virgo. We have an out-of-sign grand trine formed with Mars in Leo trine, the north node of fate and destiny in Aries, and Neptune, 27 degrees Pisces, also forming a trine to the Sun, 24 degrees Scorpio. We have a rectangle pattern and a cradle pattern. The mutable T-square. Mercury in Sagittarius opposite Jupiter in Gemini, with both planets in their sign of debilitation and in mutual reception in cahoots with one another, with Mercury about to retrograde through Sagittarius, bringing us all the way back to December 2022. Jupiter in Gemini can be a bit scattered. It's too quick, feels shifty, and can be really unfocused. It's like an octopus being pulled in 8 very different directions, which can be energetically overwhelming when there's a lack of grounding. It struggles to see the forest through the trees. Jupiter in Gemini can be myopic, only focused on what's immediately in front of it, and it can get easily distracted by what we astrologers call shiny object syndrome. Watch for multitasking, which is actually a myth. We can only really do one thing with 100% focus at a time. Jupiter in Gemini is tech-savvy, enterprising, and very good at marketing. It's a jack of all trades placement with eccentric or diverse knowledge. It might be very good at trivia, knowing a little about a lot of topics, has a great sense of humor, and is great at relating with others. However, it needs to learn how to communicate deeper feelings, as it can tend to be a bit shallow. These planets at mutual reception and opposition indicates that two opposite things can both be true. Two seemingly opposite realities will collide. Similar to dialectal behavior therapy, which is based on working with opposites and polarized thinking, this polarization is really playing out in the media and on social media. Here in the USA, things have never felt more divided and polarized. What's interesting to note is what's on the astrological forecast for 2025 and 2026, which bring Uranus in Gemini and Neptune in Aries. Uranus in Gemini historically brings U.S. involvement in major wars, and during the American Civil War, Uranus was in Gemini and Neptune was in Aries. We could very well be headed for another civil war in the U.S. Irreconcilable opposites and differences could also be resolved. We will be dealing with these energies for the rest of the year, and Mercury will enjoy an extended stay in Jupiter's sign due to the upcoming Mercury retrograde through Sagittarius, which will be all about freedom of speech, movement, and expression. Collectively, we will feel a stronger pull to broaden our intellect, expand our existing knowledge base, and question pre-existing worldviews and beliefs. Infringement upon personal liberties will lead to protests, with the North Node in Aries, coming to a peak December and January. Whenever Mercury transits optimistic, gregarious Sagittarius, it encourages us to take a more lighthearted approach to thinking and perceiving the world around us. You're encouraged to not take yourself too seriously, and to lean into laughter and humor for healing. Sagittarius is a truth-seeking energy, and the truth will certainly set us free over the next 3 months. As you turn inward and prepare for the process of wintering here in the Northern Hemisphere, you may feel inspired to focus your mental energies on aligning with inner truth and purpose. In shadow, Mercury in Sagittarius can be dogmatic, overly blunt in its speech or delivery, arrogant, and have a tendency to overlook the more minute details due to an excessive focus on the broader big picture. Some important dates to note. Mercury enters its pre-retrograde shadow on November 7th, 2024, the moment that Mercury reaches 6 degrees 23 arc minutes of Sagittarius, where it will ultimately station direct on December 15th, 2024. Mercury stations retrograde on November 25th, 2024, just days prior to Thanksgiving here in the U.S. 2 degrees 40 arc minutes of Sagittarius, that KILL or BKILLED degree. Mercury is Cazimi, conjoins the sun and is reborn like the phoenix rising from its ashes on December 5th, 2024, 14 degrees 27 arc minutes of Sagittarius. Mercury stations direct on December 15th, 2024, 6 degrees 23 arc minutes Sagittarius, and will leave its post-retrograde shadow for good on January 2nd, 2025, 22 degrees 40 arc minutes of Sagittarius. that KILL or BKILLED degree again. We will experience the opposition between Jupiter and Gemini and Mercury and Sagittarius 3 times. The first direct pass, the retrograde pass, and the final direct pass. The opposition first exacts between November 17th and 19th in the days following the full Beaver Moon in Taurus, coinciding with Pluto's ingress into Aquarius. On the 25th, Mercury stations retrograde, which means that on December 4th, Mercury will oppose Jupiter and Gemini again during its retrograde, retracing its steps. Mercury is the trickster magician card in tarot, ruling over commerce, communication, and travel. Mercury likes to tinker and is all about attention to detail, whereas Jupiter and Sagittarius are all about universal themes, similarities, philosophies, and world views, spirituality, and the big picture perspective. This is all about how our thought patterns and beliefs create our 3D reality. This is an opportunity to observe and reflect on any tendencies to embellish, exaggerate, or misrepresent information, facts, ourselves, or our experiences. Misinformation and disinformation will resurface as major themes at this time. The egoic, arrogant need to be right will play out, especially in the media and on social media. For peace of mind, you may want to deactivate your social media and definitely ensure that your passwords are secure. Mercury is a shapeshifter associated with the logical functions of our mind and ruling over fraternal twins Virgo and Gemini. 2 planets at mutual reception and opposing one another does not mean that this will be an easy transit. As with any opposition, conflict leads to evolution. We will be challenged to find ways of seeing eye to eye and compromising amidst polarization. The point of tension occurs with Saturn stationing direct 12 degrees Pisces. Saturn is now direct, magnifying its symbolism. This energy is converging on what's missing. So if we pull that bow and arrow, that tension formed as we pull the string, if we were to let go and release the arrow, that arrow would converge opposite what's missing in the sky, in the heart of Virgo, aka the second decan of Virgo, between 10 and 19 degrees of Virgo, which is all about practicing the art of discernment. We have an out-of-sign grand trine. Mars, the ruler of the north node of fate and destiny in Aries, trines the north node in Aries. So the north node of fate and destiny is trining its planetary ruler. This is the transition from the Fool to the Emperor, bolstering our self-determination. It's a time of rapid collective self-development as we realign with passion and purpose. We are healing abandonment and rejection wounding as we lean into greater autonomy, self-reliance, and independence. It's about finding our inner flame and carrying the torch as we inspire others on the path toward autonomy and independence. We have a rectangle pattern formed. Mercury, 16 degrees Sagittarius, opposite Jupiter retrograde, 19 degrees Gemini. Chiron, 19 degrees Aries, opposite Black Moon Lilith, 15 degrees Libra. Chiron, 19 degrees Aries, trine Mercury, 16 degrees Sagittarius. And Black Moon Lilith, 15 degrees Libra, trine Jupiter retrograde, 19 degrees Gemini. Awareness around our deepest abandonment and rejection wounds, activated by Chiron and Aries, as Jupiter expands our patterns of self-disempowerment, Black Moon Lilith, playing out in our interpersonal relationships, Libra. Return of or a message from a past lover or flame will bring closure. We have a cradle pattern. The cradle aspect pattern is a trapezoid consisting of 2 minor grand trines connected by an opposition. The cradle pattern lies along the border of one half of the chart, creating an energetic barrier of sorts. The implication is that the other half remains untouched, unexplored. It's unknown or foreign territory. There is an inner harmony thanks to the 3 sextiles and 2 minor trines. With this aspect or pattern, the motive of security dominates our energy. We may be anxiously concerned about protecting what we have against intruders or anyone who seeks to take it. We may have difficulty letting go, and much like an infant in a cradle, prefer to remain in the familiar security of that cradle. Fortunately, Uranus, conjunct this full moon in Taurus, is here to break us free from the shackles of complacency. This full moon has major connections to the past. On May 9th, 2023, the Sun and Uranus aligned for Uranus's Cazimi, 18 degrees, 53 arc minutes of Taurus. A couple weeks after that, we had, on May 19th, 2023, we had the new moon, 28 degrees Taurus. Between July 31st, 2022 and August 1st, 2022, as Mars prepared for its most recent retrograde before this upcoming one, Mars, Uranus, and the North Node of Fate and Destiny aligned 18 degrees Taurus. This alignment last occurred around 324 BC, and it was an energetic ripple effect that will last for decades and centuries to come. On May 16th, 2022, we had the full moon total lunar eclipse, 25 degrees Scorpio, within a 1 degree orb of this full moon. On November 19th, 2021, we had the full moon lunar eclipse, 27 degrees Taurus, within a 3 degree orb of this full moon. You may remember from some of my previous videos, but this was a time during the COVID-19 pandemic when we had record deaths. November 15th, 2020, on this same date in 2020. And I've said it in many of my videos this year, but 2024 is a karmic year. It is a repeat of 2020. We had our new moon, 23 degrees Taurus, within a 1 degree orb of this full moon. With Saturn stationing direct, all of this energy happening on the 2 evil degrees of astrology, including the 18th degree and the 22nd degree, there very well could be desperate power grabs with Pluto 29 degrees Capricorn. At the hands of leaders who are losing power, there could be a return of mask mandates. There could be a return of lockdowns. And finally, this is taking us all the way back to January 12th, 2020. The conjunction between Pluto, Saturn, and Ceres, 22 degrees Capricorn. That evil Kill or Bkilled degree. Ceres is now 22 degrees Capricorn under this full moon, 24 degrees Taurus, bringing us right back to the power grabs, fear-mongering, and abuses of power we saw between 2020 and 2022, especially as Ceres closes in on Pluto, 29 degrees Capricorn. The Sabian Symbolism, 25 degrees Taurus, a large, well-kept public park. Keyword, recreation. Theme, group work. The symbol speaks to a division of labor and to the benefits to be gained by working with others in a common group endeavor. The image of a large, well-kept public park describes a community gathering place, and it dramatizes the fact that there are some things in life that an individual cannot accomplish by themselves, or that require cooperative effort to establish and maintain. It also emphasizes the fact that self-worth can be realized only in the ordinary, everyday world, as the individual discovers when and how they need others, and that others need them. Positive. At its highest, the symbol represents community leadership and an unselfish dedication to the welfare of all people. Negative. Lack of self-confidence and a tendency to be easily swayed or influenced by the thoughts and opinions of others, aka group think. Today, the accent is on enjoyment. Take the time to save the fruits of your labor. Community or social gatherings bring special pleasure. Opportunity. Your greatest advantage lies in working on group rather than personal projects at this time. Focus on aesthetics and add a touch of beauty to the world around you. Risk. Guard against giving in to pressure from others against your better judgment. Don't waste your time arguing over trivial matters. Stepping stones. Common ground, cooperative effort, shared resources, group projects, division of labor, and beautification. Crystals. Black tourmaline is a powerful protector, assisting with protecting your energy and home by ensuring that negative energy cannot penetrate. It is also a great stone for grounding. To connect with it, you can display it near the doorway of your home, or you can wear it on your left wrist as a bracelet. Thank you for watching. If you're still with me, you're a real one. Drop your current most used emoji in the comments. If you took anything away from this video, we ask that you like, comment, share the content, and subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, we know that you'll enjoy the full playlist and this additional video. Thank you so much. Love you, and see you soon.